Yeah. So I feel like sharing. I'm like feeling so emotional for some reason. I feel like I have so many people in my life that are like so loving that it's insane. And I feel like these. Okay, hold on, let me relax a bit. Yeah, I feel like these past 2 years I've been like the most insecure ever. The most like doubtful and fuck dude, when is this gonna go away? No, but like the most judgmental for sure. Um but I feel like for so many others as well, it's like these past few years have been like the most intense in every aspect. Intense highs, intense lows, and I usually really get caught up in the intense lows. Like, I make it mean so many things. I make it so significant. I make it so like so much harder than it actually has to be. And it's like I create concepts around that. So like, let's say intensity. Usually it's like intensity of emotion for me. When certain intense feelings or internal chaos almost comes up, it's like I make that about me. And there's such judgment in that. There's such like, damn, what am I doing wrong? Or like, this shouldn't be there. Like, just feeling like it's my fault. Like what's showing up, it's just my fault. And so there's like this self-judgment that's been so like ingrained. It's insane. Um or like self-doubt, you know? I might need to pause this shit. Oh my god. Like insecurity, like so much insecurity. So much insecurity and so much fear. And it's all just so stupid. Like when I really look at it, it's just so silly. But I make it so intense and like so significant. And so it's just crazy how none of that needs to happen, and how like we're all living in this life and there is suffering. To be born in this life is suffering. To go from this childhood perspective of innocence and play and everything's beautiful and you feel so like connected and like nothing's significant, like it's play, it's all play, to growing up and being instilled with so many concepts that only produce more fear, that only produce more tension. And we have to make a living and we have to like find our way and we have to, there's just so much. And so I could cry, I could laugh, I don't even know. It's just crazy to contemplate and reflect. Like, Like, most of our fears are just so silly, yet they can feel so real. And to know that we always have the opportunity to make it easier on ourselves. So we don't always have the choice on what shows up. What shows up can be such a disaster. What shows up can be so beautiful. We just don't really have a choice. What shows up is just what shows up. What goes on, whether it's outer or inner, it's just what's showing up. Like intense emotion, chaotic mind, or silence mind, peaceful mind, or whatever. But you do have a say in how you respond to that. And you can always make it so much worse, and you can always make it so much better, so much easier on yourself. And when you make it so much easier on yourself, your whole surrounding, everyone that comes in contact with you benefits from that. And when you make it so much more harder and like such a big deal and so significant, and you add so much tension to it, you add so much story, like, what does this mean about me? Oh my god, I'm an anxious person because I'm experiencing anxiety. And then you take this on with you like your whole life. And you share that with the people in your life. Everyone that comes into contact with you, you either make it everything easier and more relaxed, or you make it more tense and like a big deal, and like something you have to overcome. And our perspective is just so powerful. It's insane. It's insane. Like the amount of times that I could have just relaxed instead of making things about me. Because here's the thing, like, it's not that I've spent so much time in suffering, but it very much is that like, when certain intense emotions show up, like the low lows kind of thing, I don't want to feel it. Like, I'm like, oh, like there's this fear that arises. There's like this judgment that's not good. That shouldn't be there. I don't want to look at it. And so instead of like really feeling that and really understanding and really responding to that in a different way, because the way that I respond to it, it's the way that it's gonna reflect me. It's the way that it's gonna become more of. That's what I'm saying. If you respond in a relaxed way to your own fears, to your own tensions, to your own anxieties, that too is gonna be relaxed. When you give space for anything to show up and just love anything that shows up, when you give it love, instead of treating fear in a fearful way or anxiety in an anxious way, you just are able to look at it and like treat it as you would your own child. Like, relax it and soothe it and nurture that. And little by little, that becomes the reflection of your response or your reaction, which usually most people treat fear in a very fearful way or anxiety in a very anxious way, and then it just becomes bigger. Make it a problem. And years go on, you might need to go to the doctor, and that's fine. Like, there's no issue, but it really starts subtle. It starts small. When you start seeing I'm getting chills right now. But when you start seeing that your response is what matters, it doesn't matter what shows up. What could show up doesn't matter. You can hate it, you can love it, but it's your response to that. And so my thing was like so many of us, I don't want to feel that, I don't want to look at it, and so boom, let me go distract myself. Let's go plan stuff. We need to plan stuff. We always need to do something. Let's do something. Let's go here. Oh, I need to make some money. Oh, need to make more money. Yeah, more than enough. More. Let's watch movies. Let's eat all this stuff. Let's go to that restaurant. And there's nothing wrong with that. When you're really enjoying each moment, when you're present, when you're really intentional kind of thing, when you're like at peace with yourself, at ease with yourself, when you actually feel like complete, in a sense that you're not like judging parts of yourself as being like wrong, and so you constantly feel like you have to be doing something, because if you stop, then these things show up and they become louder when you stop. The more you stop, the louder these things become. And so it's okay if you're doing things because you're inspired to do them and it's really fun for you and you love to do them. But when you feel like you constantly have to be distracted or doing something, or at least for me, I'm just gonna speak about my experience because that 100% was for me. Like, it was like this running away from discomfort, from the things that were actually showing up and I didn't want to look at. I didn't want to look at certain fears, I didn't want to look at certain discomforts, and so it's so much easier for me to place my attention somewhere else. But when I confront these things that are that like would fear so much, that would cause so much discomfort mentally, physically, when I would just spend some time with that and not judge it and thank the freaking Lord, whatever, that I have people in my life that can like give space to whatever shows up, because so many times I couldn't do that. Like, so many times there would be something that showed up and I was like, nah, like that's not me, like no. But it's still there. And so there comes a point that I have to like either confront that or keep running away and keep distracting myself, which to me it doesn't really feel good. I love being in meditation, I love slowing down, I love coming to a full stop, and I love reflection, I love contemplating, I love all these things so much, like breaking things apart and seeing where they come from, and just I really love all of that. But when I'm running away from discomfort, it doesn't allow these things to be seen, to be accepted, to be loved, to be freed and soothed and nurtured. Because whatever you ignore doesn't actually go away. Over time, it just becomes subconscious, like you're not aware of it. Unconscious tension, and like I see that a lot in my family. So they're little like, or like with older people when they begin to like shake. I don't know, I've seen that a lot. Maybe I'm just being judgmental again, but you just like begin to shake, and not everybody does that, not everybody has it. And like there's certain tensions that if you keep holding, not paying attention to them, distracting yourself, not looking at it, it just intensifies. And it actually, over time, what you don't look at becomes unconscious. It doesn't go away, and it just intensifies, and now you're not even aware of it. So I love this analogy from Abraham Hicks. It's like, you want to be aware when something doesn't feel good. You want to spend some time with that. You want to be able to respond to that in a conscious way and relax it, instead of like, oh, I don't like that, like, next, boom, suppression, ignoring, boom, unconscious over time. That's what it becomes. So what she says is, if you put your hand on a hot stove, you want to be able to feel that. You don't want to like be numb to it, because then if you're numb to it, hours later your whole freaking arm, or I don't know, maybe days later, I don't even know, but your whole arm is just gonna be black, a mess. Like, it's gonna get so much worse if you don't feel the pain as soon as it shows up. So the more courageous you can be in actually tuning into your internal environment, because that's what matters, that's what life is reflecting, and actually confront these things that you've never really wanted to look at. I've talked to some people and they say that when they start meditating, they feel uncomfort, like they don't feel so good, and many things can arise, like anxiety or sadness or restlessness. I feel like my body is like freaking, I don't know, but it's shaking a little bit. Maybe it's because I'm like speaking upon like something that's been so close to my experience, to how I've been living, to how I've been expressing, and it's so limited to be stopped by that. Anyways. So yeah, the more courageous you can be, the more you can actually confront these things that you've been wanting to ignore. And if you sit down in meditation, if you come to a full stop, you'll be able to really feel these things that you've been feeling, but they become more conscious to you. They're not like in the background anymore, because you're in the foreground. You're just focused on like, what can I do right now? Let me do something. What if you don't have to do things all the time? What if you don't have to distract yourself all the time? What if you can actually come to a stop in your meditations and respond to anything that comes up in a way that you would want it to become more of? So if you want to have a more peaceful life, sit down with anything that comes up that's uncomfortable for you, that causes you discomfort, and relax that. And give space to like the expression of that. But don't make it bigger of a deal than it has to be. Oh, I want to learn how to meditate, but now I'm sitting down and this sadness shows up, this restlessness shows up, this whatever shows up, this discomfort shows up, and I don't like it. So I'm gonna not learn how to meditate, and I'm just gonna keep on doing what I know how to do that makes me feel a little better. And that's good. You always want to do things that make you feel good. But never run away from discomfort. That's it really limits your expression. It really limits your understanding. You can understand so much more if you're just able to confront the discomfort, whether it may be, it's usually internal, because even if it's external, it's causing you discomfort inside. So you don't have to blame certain things, so you can just focus, and focus on your intention. Literally have your intention in mind all the time. If your intention is peace and love and living happily, then let that be your response. Create conversations about these things that allow it to become more relaxed and soothed, and allow you to live a happier, freer life. Instead of just like when discomfort shows up, you lose your mind and you just gotta go. There's so many tools that are so helpful. And all of this, it doesn't even have to be meditation. Screw meditation. It's just like if you're starting your new business, if you're doing something that's totally new to you that like scares the shit out of you or whatever, all these discomforts are going to show up, and that doesn't mean that you have to stop. It doesn't mean that you have to stop trying to build that new business that you want to build. And that's happened to me so many times. Like, so many ideas come up, and then when I'm going after them, there's a point where I hit like a threshold of discomfort that I'm like, oh, that's too much, and I retrieve, and I just rather go back to what's familiar and create all these little excuses. And they make sense in my mind, but it doesn't matter. So discomfort doesn't actually have to stop your desire to follow your dream. You can follow your dream, but just peep the discomfort when it shows up. When the discomfort shows up, just respond to it in a conscious way. Take some deep breaths. Do what you need to do. Relax. And define the discomfort in a way that is helping you, that empowers you. Not in a way that's like, oh, fuck this. No. Like, you're so much bigger. And you can actually realize this only through courage. You can only realize that you're bigger than all of your fears through courage. And the times that I've been the most courageous, man, like, the benefit is so amazing. And the times that I've been the most fearful, nothing changes. Nothing at all. And I still expect things to change, like, God, oh please. Sorry. But like, prayer. I've done that a few times. It's kind of funny. It's like, life is only going to reflect you ever. So it doesn't matter if you're praying all these things. If you're not responding to life in that way, moment to moment, if that's not your intention, that is alive, that you're living moment to moment, it's not about what you do, but it's very much how you respond to all these things, to people, to discomfort. And are you bringing more of your intention in that? Are you making that more conscious? Are you making that more aware? Do you want to tense things up even more, or do you want to relax things even more? Spend some time with the discomfort that you haven't been wanting to feel, and actually create a very loving relatedness to it. Like, not a very loving outlook on it. Because all fear could do is either scare you more or just fucking fuel your desire so much more. So in that, it is fuel. You can appreciate it. Even if it feels so fucking uncomfortable. Like, the more courageous you are in taking steps towards your dreams, no matter what discomfort shows up, the more you'll actually, like, all these fears and discomforts, because they're all mental, illusory, really, they'll all just fall away because you're confronting it. But whatever you don't confront eventually becomes subconscious, so you won't even notice that it's there. And I usually be triggered when certain things happen, and it's like, oh my God, what is this feeling? But see, all these feelings, all these triggers always have been there. And many times, like, in my route, because as my desire, self-realization, so you can say way, in my practice of meditation and all of that, all these things come up and they just feel so like, But it's so very much on the meaning that I give it, on how I'm defining that. You don't have to make it so important. You don't have to make it so significant. Feelings come and go. Just be honest. Be honest about what you feel and create definitions about how this is so good that it's showing up. Discomfort could make you so much more empowered and confident and courageous and direct. It could literally fuel your desire for whatever you want. But when you're constantly like, oh, it's too much, and I've done this so many times, and I speak to my family, and I see it there. I ask questions, and yeah, like my direct family, there's just been like a lot of stuff that has caused so much fear. Like, there's always this kind of like wanting to distract ourselves. But you don't have to. You could. And it can actually be very helpful from time to time. If certain things get like way too much, just go distract yourself. Do a few things. Go work out. Go paint. Go do whatever you love to do. That creates more ease and soothes that. But eventually you're gonna have to really commit to confronting these things and redefining them in a way that's working for you. So in a way that's empowering and that fuels your desire even more, in a way that relaxes that fear even more. And if you're like impulsive, like as soon as the fear shows up, you're just like wanting to ignore it, just stay with it just for like a few seconds, a minute. And just, even if it's so fucking uncomfortable, just, if it came, it too shall pass. It has to pass. It's just a feeling. How many feelings have you survived? So it's gonna pass. You don't have to distract yourself right away. It could be helpful if it gets way too intense, but you don't always have to distract yourself. You don't always have to like fear discomfort. You can face it, you can confront it, you can allow it to make you more honest and courageous and desirous of your goal. Because that's the thing, if you want something but you sort of desire it, then you're sort of gonna do it like 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. That's the energy that you're gonna put into it. So the more that you confront fear in this way, in a way that's like actually fueling your desire, it's actually a good thing, then it's just money. It's just money put on your desire. Whatever your dream is, bam, right there. Every time you confront your fears, every time you confront any type of discomfort, sit with it for a few seconds at least to start off with. And just know that whatever comes too shall pass, so it's not a huge deal. And you can start recreating conversations about discomfort that actually have you stop in the midst of discomfort and relax it and soothe it. Boom. Keep doing that. And everyone that you come in contact will also benefit from that. But if you trip out, if you make it more significant, if you make it more intense, then you're just making yourself a little more crazy. And the more you suppress all these things, remember, they don't go away. Nothing ever goes away. You either like see how your fear about these things all comes from your perception about it. Oh my god, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking very soon, but I just remember this is one of my favorite stories, and I've shared it a few times, but not here. So I was at a friend's house once, and there's actually two stories that are like my favorite, but it really keys in on your perception is everything. Like what you fear is not because it's so bad. Oh my, that's all like here. It's all here, right? Okay, so I was at a friend's house, and there's this whole family, and then the one of the brothers was gonna give this 2-year-old girl a doll. And this doll was like a Halloween doll, so had like black eyes and like blood in her face, like pale and like scary to me. Like that was just like, and then like you would press a button and she'll be like, oh, like sing like, oh, scary. Not sing, but like make scary sounds. That was my perception, right? And many of us have learned that like there are perceptions that are scary since birth. Are like parents, oh, look at that, oh my god, like you just make it significant, right? And you instill that fear. So everything does is movies, everything instills that in us, that judgment that this is fear and that should be loved, that should be neglected, this should be embraced. So he's giving her the doll, and I'm like, why are you giving her that? And she just takes it and she hugs it and she laughs and she starts looking at it and like throwing it up in the air, and I'm just like, oh wow. I mean, she hasn't learned that these things are like, she has no idea about these things. It's just like all play, it's all toy, it's all. So I found that pretty inspiring. And then somebody else shared her story about Marina Jacobi one time shared her story about how she knows all these things. She knows how life reflects her, and that all of this is pretty much just up for grabs. Like the meaning of life is up for grabs. You get to say what it means. And what you say it means, voila, it becomes. Anyway, so she had a dream of this like scary big snake that was like after her. And knowing all of this, she just hugged the snake and gave it as much love as she possibly could. I'm paraphrasing. So this is what I remember. I haven't watched that video in a long time, but it just stuck with me, like this idea. So she hugged the snake and gave it love, right? Knowing all of this, that it's just a reflection, that life only reflects her beliefs, her response, right? So the snake then became a little the snake then became a little I'm saying because I think it's gonna cut my video, but we'll see. I think I can fix that. So the snake became this little thing, and then they started playing together, and that was the end of the whole fear altogether. So if you know this, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. If you maybe you don't know it, but maybe you are like intrigued, maybe you want to try it out, because you can, and that's the only way you can actually know it, by trying it out, by actually confronting things that are uncomfortable to you, and creating a conversation about that thing that's empowering, that's good, that's helping you, that relaxes it, that soothes it, that nurtures it, that. And you can try this out whenever. It's freaking beautiful. It's so beautiful, but you just have to be willing to not believe in the stories about that thing. Realize that the stories about whatever discomfort showing up are old news. They've been taught to you by people. Society has placed ideas, beliefs, ideas that you believed in your head, and then over time it creates fear. But the more you know that it's all your perception, so the scariest thing ever could show up in your view. You could feel the most intense fear ever, terror, and not budge and not make it significant. I feel like we have no idea how powerful we are. I feel like we have no idea how powerful we can be. And how we don't have to let fear, and I'm really speaking to myself, we don't have to let fear at all be like this. Oh, that's a stop sign. Reroute. You can penetrate, you can go deeper into it. Faith really helps. Faith in that you will be alright, that everything is okay, that nothing can ultimately hurt you. These kind of beliefs allow people to be courageous, more courageous than if you don't have beliefs based on faith. And yeah, so okay, I feel like I'm blabbering. This is about to be 40 minutes. Insane. But it's so powerful. It's so powerful to define things in a way that you want it to become more of. Even if it's just a little more relaxed. If you really want unconditional love, because I say some people like, oh, unconditional love, but wait until you face all your fears and offer that unconditional love to everything. And watch how it reflects you. It's exciting. It's so exciting. And the more you fear it, watch how it reflects you. So that's pretty much it. You can always make it easier on yourself and everyone else around you. You can always make it more tense. All your fears and discomforts and anything that arises like that, you can make it more tense. You can make it bigger. And then it will affect everyone around you as well. So what are you doing? What are you responding to life? How are you responding to life? How are you responding to your fears? Are you actually following your dreams? Are you actually allowing these fears to show up because you're following something new? Or do you always stay in a comfort and safe place, knowing that nothing more will come, no discomfort will come, because you know you control. You try to control everything in your life. And so, in a way that no discomfort is going to show up. And then it doesn't really allow you to even become aware of the fears that you have. But obviously, life is spontaneous. Life is just anything can show up. So even if you try so freaking hard to control everything in your life, life doesn't work that way. Anything can happen at any time. You never know. So you can always stay safe and never have anything show you your fears. Or you can just be loud, be out there, follow your dreams, express yourself the way you want to express yourself, and allow everything to show up and give it space. Give it space to be exactly as it is, and just respond to it in a conscious way, in a way that you want it to become more of. And distracting yourself, ignoring things, doesn't make it go away. Alright. This felt good. I love y'all so much. Ciao.